Broncos country, what's going on? We got another piece of wonderful news, another high quality addition to the Broncos staff. I've loved what this ownership has done. Again, you guys might forget Nathaniel Hackett and Russell Wilson were already here before they purchased the team. So now Greg and Kerry, Penner, the Walton-Penner group, they've been able to have their hands in things a little bit more over this past year since hiring Sean Payton, which has been great. Another Stanford connection, of course. Kerry and Greg went to Stanford, and David Shaw coming over here as a senior personnel executive. I love this. He was somebody that I thought was an interesting candidate for the head coaching job a few years ago when Nathaniel Hackett was hired, and wanted to get back into the pro football game after his time in Stanford. Was a wonderful head coach at Stanford. I thought he did a very good job. If you don't think that David Shaw is a good head football coach at Stanford, you don't understand how hard it is to have a successful program at Stanford. And I thought that he did a fantastic job. And I wanted to go ahead and read to you Broncos country a lot of the thoughts that are being shared by people in the Broncos country community, as well as the media portion. Scroll up here. Cameron Parker, friend of the show from Mainly Broncos, said David Shaw and Jim Leonard in one offseason to the staff. Broncos dubs this offseason, no doubt. And I think he's going to be somebody that's going to help George Payton quite a bit in the scouting. He understands the college game. He has a lot of NFL experience, so he understands what it takes for these guys to make that transition to the next level. D-Mac was saying earlier today how he feels like he is somebody that George Payton can lean on, and that's what they've been needing in the front office. I love it. Let's see what else. Zach Stevens. Not only does George Payton like David Shaw, but Shaw has connections across the Broncos organization. He and Sean Payton coached together on the Eagles staff in 97. Oh, and also, Condoleezza Rice is also a Stanford grad. She's one of the minority stake owners in the Broncos, along with Lewis Hamilton and maybe a few others. Lewis Hamilton's awesome, by the way. Cameron Parker, what if David Shaw was hired not to be a head coach down the line, but front office who can be eyes for personnel? Sean is an incredible player evaluator. Yes, and in order to have a quality program at Stanford, you have to have that eye, no doubt. And respect my co's. I love this. I love this. The hype. The league let us get the USFL. Myles Garrett, I love that he's sticking with that. I love it. I'm a fan. And a top 5 head coach in college football in a span of 2 days. We're not playing fair. I'm all about the hype. Absolutely love it. Worked in the NFL for nearly a decade as an assistant coach, says Adam Schefter. And lastly, I'll read this tweet here from Joey Richards. This is a stepping stone job for David Shaw, staying involved instead of just taking the year off. Totally expect his name to be thrown around for different coaching gigs next offseason. Nonetheless, another smart guy in Dove Valley to help kick off this new era of Broncos. Very interesting take, a little bit different. I do wonder if he wants to get back into coaching, if he really enjoys the front office side of things. We'll just have to see. But with him putting himself in the running 2 years ago for that Broncos job, you have to wonder if that is still his ultimate goal, is to be a head coach in the NFL. So we'll have to see. But guys, I wanted to say, and I want to hear your thoughts on this too, is that this ownership group has been fantastic. We can see the organization's commitment to spending money on players. They'll spend money even if it hurts the bottom line. Like, hey, you want to get rid of Russell Wilson? We'll pay all that guaranteed money and have him off the team. We'll move on. Okay. Spending money on the stadium renovations, spending money on the practice facility renovations, I think is all wonderful. I am assuming they're going to be looking into building a new stadium here at some point, maybe over by the airport, right? But in the meantime, they're trying to make this stadium that we got right now as good as it can be. You saw the upgrading with the replay screen. You saw them change out the turf multiple times. Other owners don't do that. Let's contrast this to another recent owner that came into the NFL, David Tepper. This guy, he might be one of the top owners in terms of net value or net worth in the NFL, but he's getting in the way of things. He's meddling. With the coach that they hired from the Colts, why am I forgetting his name? But, it was reported that he wanted to draft CJ Stroud number 1 overall. And David Tepper didn't want that. He wanted Bryce Young. Why are you hiring a coach if you're not going to see his vision through? And hopefully he's got it right this time, but throwing drinks on fans and stuff like that, it's just a terrible look. I really do feel like the Walton-Penner group has followed in the steps of Pat Bowlen in terms of quality ownership, being about continuity, the health of the organization. They have not been pinching pennies. They've been like making Sean Payton one of the highest paid coaches, if not the highest paid coach at the time, for him to come out here. They said, you know what? It's going to cost a first and a second, but we're going to pay that price because we know that he is a very, very good football coach. And I believe it. Of course, it's never ideal to trade for a coach, but they've given him a contract that definitely shows how much he's valued by this ownership group. And I really do feel like they stay out of the way of football operations and they empower the right people to make those decisions. They don't meddle with this. They're not football people in terms of being around the game their whole lives. They like football, which is why they purchased the team, but they don't get involved like Jerry Jones or, as you've heard with David Tepper, all of that. So I want to give a shout out to the Walton-Penner Group. I don't think I've done a video on them since I started this channel, but it's very clear with all of the staff members that they've brought on since coming on here and moving on from Nathaniel Hackett, bringing on Sean Payton, retaining George Payton, which I thought was interesting, but now seeing the greater vision of things and things come together, I really do think that they value continuity in hiring, as D-Mac said, very quality, high-level people. And David Shaw is another one of those guys. Sean Payton has a fantastic vision for this team, and we've been able to bring in quality coaches. Jim Leonard, okay. We got Davis Webb here for another year. We got Pete Carmichael in here, Joe Lombardi, a lot of people tied to the Saints organization, and that's a very positive thing. So welcome to the Broncos, David Shaw. Thank you for choosing the Broncos. This is going to be fantastic, and hopefully this is going to help us with getting those diamond in the rough players in the back half of the draft or as they play the waiver wire throughout the year. So y'all be sure to let me know your thoughts. Thank you guys again so much. I will be back again very shortly over the next few days. And as always, y'all, go Broncos.